Welcome back, drawing buddies. Today we are going to draw Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. We're going to go from pencils to inks to colors. So why don't you come along and let's draw. I picked Tanjiro and Demon Slayer this week because the movie's coming out. Well, at least as the week of the release of the video. And I'm going to see it with a friend, and so I figured it'd be fun to draw Tanjiro to get ready for it. Plus, it'll give me an excuse to catch up on the show a bit because I don't remember anything. So for the video, I watched the train arc and most of the first season. I totally don't remember anybody's names except for, Tanjiro, Mezuko, and Rengoku. But, I could talk about the story now and actually know what the heck I'm saying. Plus, it gave me an excuse to watch it while I was drawing the picture, so that I would have some idea what was going on in the movie, because, like I said, I got my mother's memory. So let me catch up a bit, so I'll have the lore in the back of my head while watching the movie. This is actually the second Tanjiro that I've drawn. The first one, he was kind of jumping off a cliff, but it was a small Tanjiro, and it probably would have been fine once I colored it and put it all together, but it didn't have the dynamic thing that I was going for, so I said, you know what, let's start another one, and once I get the pencils done, I'll pick my favorite of the two and go with it. And this one won. I probably should have put the other one in the video somewhere, but maybe I'll post it in the comments if you're allowed to do that kind of stuff. Or I might link my Instagram eventually, and so you guys could check it out there. I picked this one because I like the forward motion. The other one, he was just kind of like floating in the air, like he's coming down, which was fine, but I just kind of like this one better. I like the anger, I like the hand, I like the flaming sword, which I was going to do on the other one too, but this one worked. I also tried a few new things with coloring, which we'll get to in the coloring section. And I actually drew a Deadpool this week, which is actually more in line with what the original Tanjiro drawing was, but it has more flow and more dynamicism. Is that a word? Dynamicism to it. Plus, with this one and that Deadpool, I learned a few things with my coloring. It's nothing drastic, just little things to make things pop a little more. And I'm going to apply some of that to the Supergirl drawing that was going to come out this week before I realized the Demon Hunter movie was coming out. So now Supergirl is going to be pushed probably 2 weeks from now. So I should stop talking about what the next drawing is because I keep switching it up and drawing other things. Anyway, Demon Slayer is about Tanjiro. He is a kid, lives in the woods with his mother and his siblings. Their father died. He was the sickly guy, and I think he just died of being sick. Tanjiro takes care of the family making charcoal and carrying it down the mountain they live on into the local village to sell charcoal, and he's a good-mannered kid. He helps people with their problems, fixes their doors or whatever, and plus he has a really good sense of smell, so he solves problems by smelling things. Like some guy was accused of breaking one of his mother's bowls, and the guy asked Tanjiro to prove that it wasn't him, and to do that he smelled the bowl and said, nope, smells like the cat did it. And so the lady and everybody trusts Tanjiro enough that and she's like, all right, it's a cat, and then she stopped beating on her poor son. Yeah, so the story starts out with Tanjiro on the mountain getting the charcoal ready to bring to town. It's a cold, wintry day, and it's the kind of day he should be staying home on, but I guess there's a holiday coming up, and he loves his family, and he wants his brothers and sisters and his mother to be able to feast on the holiday and not have to worry about things, so he decides he's going to go into town and sell all the charcoal, hopefully sell all the charcoal, and then come back with the money and some food, and they could have a nice holiday, celebrate, eat too much, normal things we do on holidays. But the weather's miserable, and when he's going back, climbing the mountain, an old man tells him, listen, you need to come inside. It's not safe out there at night because the demons come. And Tanjiro just thinks it's a superstition, but the man insists, so he's like, all right, I'll stay here, and I'll go back in the morning. It's not the end of the world. So in the morning, he goes back up to the mountain, and he finds his family was slaughtered. He thinks it was by a bear. His mother's dead, his brothers and sisters are dead, and he notices that his sister Nezuko, she's still warm. So he gets her together, and he's panicking because he feels he lets his family down. This wouldn't have happened if he was there. And he starts carrying her down the mountain to get her medical attention. And at that time, they are attacked by a demon hunter because it turns out Nezuko got turned into a demon. And even though Tanjiro doesn't know how to fight and he doesn't know really how to defend himself, he does his best to fight off the demon slayer and saying, I won't let you take my sister away. My family is dead. She's all I have left. She wouldn't hurt a fly. And while they're fighting, she steps in to try to save her brother instead of just trying to eat him. And something clicks in the demon hunter that makes him think that Tanjiro is telling the truth. So after the demon slayer basically beats Tanjiro, although Tanjiro does use some clever tactics while fighting and almost gets a shot in, the demon hunter decides to let Nezuko live and tells Tanjiro to go to this place in this mountain, and that's the guy who trained me, and I'll send ahead to tell him that you're coming. And he lets Nezuko live. So Tanjiro, now he knows demons exist. He's filled with guilt thinking he let his family down. He's also filled with rage and he wants to, avenge his family, and he wants to make sure it happens to nobody else, because one of Tanjiro's main features, I guess, would be that he's very kind. Even when he's fighting in the first few demons, he wants to believe that they're not truly evil and that they could be saved, but he learns pretty quick that that's not necessarily true, but he does always show them respect, especially if they have an ability that took a lot of effort and work to put together. Like one of the demons had a drum thing, and towards the end of the fight they kind of show that he wanted to be a musician or a writer, and his teachers always beat him down and told him he wasn't good enough. So when he became a demon, he put the skill of the drum into his art. And when Tanjiro defeated him and the demon is disintegrating, he tells him that that his art was pretty impressive with the drum, and the demon actually died fulfilled, knowing that he did something good and fulfilling. Even though he was a no good rotten demon, he was a good drummer, and he died at peace with himself. So this drawing, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. I got the sketch going pretty quickly, but it deceptively took a long time to finish. First of all, the front face shot, you can see I did the whole flip to canvas thing, and the face was all kinds of crooked and whatnot, so I had to fix that. And it just took a while to get the little things, and I just kept over sketching things, which again, one of my problems. I just need to say, okay, this is cool, done, move on. But this one needed it, and it all comes together. But as you can see, the sketch itself came pretty quick. It's the finishing and the inking and the little details that I took a bit more time on, like the flaming sword. It was cool. Took a little time, but it was worth the effort. And his hair, it took me a few times to figure out what I wanted to do with Tanjiro's hair. But I think all the little things that I put in to get it right kind of made it better in the end. I was also looking at my older pictures, and I figured they were a little flat looking, but like I'm trying to bring the dynamics back into them. And I was looking at the turtle drawing in black and white, and I kind of love it in black and white, and so I want to make everything work as a whole, even in black and white, so that way when you're adding the colors, it is an addition to it. It's not there to make it work, because sometimes I kind of know, when I color it, it'll be fine. So now I want to make sure that it's going to be fine at no matter the stage, except for the pencils. My pencils are still a freaking mess. Even when I go to ink Tanjiro, the pencils are a mess, and I changed some things on the coat and whatnot because the checkerboards don't line up. And I think I made the checkerboards a little small, but I like it, so I'm sticking with it. And I had to put his earrings in. I almost forgot his earrings, actually. Back to Tanjiro. He's on the mountain with the old man. The old man promises that he will bring no harm to his sister because he trusts the demon slayer that found him in the woods. And so he asks Tanjiro, if your sister ever partakes in a human life and eats human flesh, what are you going to do? And he hesitates because it's his sister. He doesn't want to hurt his sister, but what does he do? And the guy basically told him, you basically kill your sister and you kill yourself because you let this happen. I mean, Demon Slayer, it's a cute, cuddly looking anime because, all anime kind of has that look to it. But it is pretty darn dark. There's a lot of death in it. There's a lot of messed up things. The demons do a lot of messed up things. Tanjiro's origin's very dark. It makes Batman's look like he went to preschool and just got mad at the Joker. It's pretty dark. So the old man decides he's going to train Tanjiro, and his way to train him is to send him to the top of the mountain every day and have him make his way home by dark, except the mountain's full of booby traps, the air is very thin, and he makes it the first night, and that surprises the old man. And he just keeps having to do it, and he gets better at it, he learns the terrain, he figures out how to avoid the traps, which aren't the same all the time, and he gets to the point where the old man's like, there's nothing else I can teach you. But if you want to go to the final selection for the Demon Slayer, you are going to have to cut this giant boulder in half. And I mean, it's a big round boulder. You're like, how the heck is he going to do that? And he doesn't do it right away. It takes him, I think, a year and a half. Because he does the first training for like 6 months. And then he just doesn't give up on cutting that boulder in half. And he doesn't even figure out himself. What happens is these other 2 kids show up to help him. A girl and a boy, I forgot their names, and they wear fox masks. And they start training and helping him. And finally, he thinks he finally gets a hit in on the boy in the fox mask, because he's just been beating the hell out of him the whole time. But no, instead of cutting him, what really happened was he cut the boulder in half. So he does that, like I said, I think it took like almost 2 years total, his training. And the whole time Nezuko was sleeping. So she was like evolving some kind of weird demon thing that doesn't require human flesh, and she recovers while she sleeps, but slower. Her blood burns when it comes into contact with other demons, and it can explode. She doesn't want to kill people because the old man put suggestions in her head that all people are her friends and the demons are the bad guys. So Tanjiro cuts the rock, and the old man is like, I had no intention of sending you to the final selection because I'm sick of seeing people die and people getting hurt, which kind of doesn't make much sense because, the Demon Slayers are helping to keep people alive, but whatever. So the man makes him a feast because he hasn't really eaten good in 2 years. And then he gives him a nice box to put Nezuko in to carry her around with him because she cannot be out in the sunlight, at least not in the first season. And Tanjiro's on his way, and he starts going through the mountain to get to the final selection. And this part's important. The old man gives him one of those fox masks like the other kids were wearing that helped him. So he's going through the woods, and he gets to this part. Oh, hold on. Pencils are done. They're a mess. But now we're going to move on to the inks. And the inks actually go fairly quickly. It's the coloring on this one that is the time-consuming bit. All right, and Tanjiro, he's going through the woods. He's making his way to the selection. And, of course, there's demons on the way. And he runs into a demon who's actually fighting with a bunch of other potential demon slayers who are on their way to the selection. It's almost like it's part of the tryout. And they're running away, and they're scared. This is like this giant bulbous thing that they can't cut it, and they can't get to it. And some of them are getting killed. Some of them are running away. Some of them are scared. Some of them are fighting for their lives. And eventually, of course, Tanjiro gets to the point where he can cut its head off and beat it. But before then, the guy says, "Oh, you're one of those fox kids." And he says that the old man always sends the fox kids down to him as a treat. He enjoys killing and eating the ones with the fox masks the most. And Tanjiro is a little thrown back by that because he realizes that the 2 kids who helped him, they were spirits. They weren't actually alive. And they helped him get through it. And they're actually part of the scene. And you can see them in the background rooting on for Tanjiro, even though he doesn't know they're there. And the old man wasn't really sending the kids to die. It was just part of the what they had to do to get to where they were going. They just never got past that monster. Even the kid who trained Tanjiro wasn't strong enough to cut his head off. So Tanjiro, he's a little special. He won't give up. He's just motivated. He's like Deku, He just will not give up no matter the obstacle in front of him. He is going to see it through, and he is going to win. And I guess that's part of all anime heroes, really. That's their driving force, is they don't give up. They plus ultra. They go all the way. So Tanjiro beats the demon, And he's kind of sad because he knows what happened to the other kids that came before him who were going to be demon slayers. But he also is at peace because when he killed the big old monster, it kind of set their souls free, so they were free to go on to whatever afterlife they have in Demon Slayer and be at peace, knowing that he helped set their souls free and move on from the torment of living in that forest. Also, one of the kids who was part of that was the Lightning Kid, and he's just a total coward running for his life and sniveling. But it turns out later that even though he subconsciously goes into a trance and he knows like one form, I think, but that one form is probably the most deadly one that you see, and he just goes lightning and cuts through whatever's in his way when that happens. And he's just like a force of nature when he's in that trance. One of the parts of Demon Slayer lore is that you can't just cut a demon's head off. The only sure way to kill them is sunlight, unless you have a special sword made from a special ore that only the Demon Slayers have. And part of the stick with the ore is that when the sword is forged and the user holds it, it changes to a specific color depending on what their primary style is going to be, their primary fighting style is going to be. And everybody thinks that Tanjiro's is going to be red because he's got reddish hair, he's got reddish eyes. And when his sword's finally forged and he holds it, it turns black. And I guess black swords are not very common. They're kind of rare, so they don't really know a lot about them. But some people consider them bad luck because the wielder isn't very decisive. He's usually kind of haphazard and doesn't last very long. And he doesn't pick a discipline. You know, he's all over the place. Which Tanjiro, I guess, eventually learns to use all the disciplines, I think. So I guess that part's true, except I think he masters them and becomes pretty awesome. Now, these inks are going fairly quickly, and I really love the way they come out, but I was thinking about it, and I don't actually have any original art for any of these things. So I might try to figure out a way where I could record myself inking these in a traditional pen and ink kind of way. Although I'm not quite sure how I'd pull that off because my hand would probably be in the way half the time. And I turn the page way too much to leave it flat in the same position the whole time. So that might not actually work out, but I might give it a try on one of the videos. And if you never see me do it, then you know it didn't work out. But I'll tell you how it went. Plus, that'll make me make decisions faster. I won't be able to erase ink lines. I just have to go with what I got and hope for the best. So that might make it go faster. Or I might just freeze up and it'll take longer. Who knows? But I ink covers and stuff for conventions all the time, and they go pretty good. And I'm almost always happy with the way they came out. Plus, they have that grit to them that the original pen and ink has that at least I don't get through the digital because I don't use any fancy brushes that would give me that look, and when I do, I don't like it. So I like the smooth brushes for this. In fact, I just use your standard G pen that comes with Clip Studio. I have other inking brushes from other companies, but I never use them. I don't think they're necessary for this. I use the Ben-Day dots all the time. I use the lines and some other grit brushes, but for the most part, I just use the standard pens that come with Clip Studio, nothing fancy, unless I'm using my dots. So Tanjiro sent off on his first mission after a little more training, and he's going to a town where women are disappearing, young girls around the age of 16. Have I mentioned that Demon Slayer is kind of dark? And I don't know if parents let their kids watch it, but they probably shouldn't. But then again, when my son was a kid, I was letting him watch Invader Zim, and that's kind of not really appropriate for a 7 or 8 year old kid either. But, what can you do? We liked it. It was fun. It wasn't dangerous. There wasn't anything explicit or sexual in it. It was just ridiculously weird humor. But Demon Slayer is just dark. It goes to dark places. So he's going to find the demon who's killing these girls, and it turns out he's killing girls who are 16 or younger because as they get older, they don't taste as good apparently. He runs into a guy whose fiance disappeared, and they're blaming him, even though he claims he didn't do it, and he didn't. It was the demons, and he's really sad because I guess kids got married at around 16 years old in feudal Japan, Although I don't think it's feudal because they have cities and electricities and older cars when he gets to the city. So I'm not sure exactly what time period it takes place in. Tanjiro is able to defeat the demon and free the town of its curse so that no more young women are going to disappear. But he only saves the girl that was recently taken because the demon has a little souvenir pouch of all the hairpins of the girl he's already eaten. And that includes the fiance of the kid who was helping Tanjiro find the demon. So, not really a happy ending, but at least the demon can't hurt anybody else. Then I got to the fight with the boar's head kid, Inosuke, I believe his name is. And he's just ridiculous. Kind of love his character. He didn't even want to be a demon slayer. Just some demon slayers around his mountain, and he beat the hell out of them and took their swords. And then he heard about the selection thing, so he's like, I'm gonna go do that because I get to fight demons because demons are real, and the kid just loves to fight. And he's fighting with Tanjiro. He's fighting with Lightning Kid. He's beating the hell out of Lightning Kid because he figures out that Tanjiro has his sister in the backpack and that she's a demon, and he's there to kill demons. But they eventually come to an understanding, and Tanjiro knocks him out with a headbutt, gives him a concussion. Because Tanjiro also has an extremely hard head, apparently. And that's pretty much all I remember from the first season, even though I just finished watching it yesterday. Because while I was waiting for the video and stuff to render, I was watching more episodes, and it just kept going to the parts that, the endings that I didn't finish watching the first time I watched it. And I was tired, and I just kind of fell asleep. So that's all we got for the first season. And as you can see, the inks are pretty much almost done. I just throw some flames on the sword and call it a day and some little line rendering. And so I guess we'll talk about the train arc, the Mugen train arc. That was fun. And it starts out with the fire, Hiroshima. I don't remember how to say it, but that's what the masters are called. The high up of the demon hunters. And it's Rengoku, the fire Hiroshima. And he's a weird dude. You can tell he doesn't get out much and doesn't really know how to talk to people. And he shows up, and there's a couple selling boxed lunches. And and he's talking to them, trying to find out about the demon. He just walks up, is there a demon around here? And his assistant's like, should you be saying that? People don't really know demons exist. And he's just like, whatever. And they're mad because people are dying, and they sort of think he might be part to blame. But he buys all the boxed lunches, and he promises he's going to help the people, and nobody else is going to get hurt. And he goes on to find the demon. And also Tanjiro and the two others, his sister and Lightning Boy and Boar's Head Kid, end up on the train to help him. And it turns out that the demon, he kind of puts you to sleep, and you live in kind of like a happy world, kind of like the Matrix. Except it's an idealized version of the Matrix. Like Tanjiro's back with his mother and brothers and sisters, and they're all alive and happy. And I think Rengoku's living out his origin and his father, how his father was a Hiroshima, but he gave it up for some reason, and he's disappointed in everything and his children who are surpassing him and whatnot. But Tanjiro figures out how to get out of it because he wakes himself up. And another dark part of the show is to wake himself up, he has to unalive himself in the dream. And he has to do that constantly. But he does, and he perseveres, and he tells the Boar's Head Kid they got to do it too. And they get to the demon, and when they decapitate the demon, it turns out that the demon fused himself with the train. So it's not just his body, they got to take out the whole train. And, they fight and they figure it out, and the spine of the train is like between the cars, and the neck is up where the coal is put into the coal car. And it's not an easy thing to do, but finally they're all woken up, and they all fight, and they all win, and they save all the passengers on the train. Not one person dies. There's some injuries, but they all survive. So they save them all. But at the end of all that, they run into one of the top 3 demons who's had a lot of the blood of the main demon, Muzan. And he's tough. He puts Rengoku to the test, and they fight pretty much till dawn. The only reason that they win is because he fights them till dawn. Otherwise, he pretty much had Rengoku beaten, even though he wouldn't give up. and I don't think Tanjiro and gang would have been much of a match for him. But the demon did run out in fear, knowing that the sunlight was coming, because that would stop even him. And it is a nasty anime fight. A lot of swordplay, a lot of fighting, a lot of blood and gore. And the whole time the demon's trying to talk Rengoku into becoming a demon because of how powerful he is and how his talents are wasted just being a demon hunter and being fragile, and that he's going to die someday because he's only human. And Rengoku's like, no, that's part of the charm of being a human and living life, and everything is beautiful. He's one of those people who thinks everything is beautiful and everything is good, and he sees the good in everything. Even like the weaker fighters like Tanjiro and whatnot at that point. And he's telling them, oh, no, this is good, and that's good, and you're good, and this and that. He's always encouraging and always uplifting. And sadly, he gets killed by the demon guy. But when the demon guy runs away in fear of the sun, Tanjiro goes after him, screaming, you didn't win, you didn't beat nobody, you're a coward, get back here, fight us. But the guy wants none of it because he knows the sunlight will take him out. And it's sad. Rengoku was a cool guy. And now he's dead, the demon got him. But it also shows you how powerful the top tier demons are, because Tanjiro and Boar's Head Dude pretty much took out the demon on the train by themselves, and Rengoku, he pretty much made sure people didn't die and saved the lives of the people on the train. So that's how that went. Oh, going back to first season, I remember there's a part where he meets a female demon and a kid that she turned who was going to die, so she made him a demon and her helper, and she's trying to figure out a way to turn Nezuko back into a person. She's like a scientist, and she wants to help humans and turn demons back into humans and make the world a better place. And there's a fight at her house with a couple demons with these balls that go all over the place, and they're hard to figure out. And then the kid gives Tanjiro the ability to see the direction of the arrows. They're following, the balls are following arrows to their destination, and it's all random and stuff, and they're able to beat them. And then Tanjiro has to get blood samples from higher level demons to help possibly cure his sister. And I don't exactly remember where that went either, because it was getting late and I was getting tired and I was editing a video and it's all a blur. But as you can see, I'm onto the coloring of Tanjiro, and I'm not doing anything different than I normally do. I pretty much just follow the same chart. I pick a direction for the light, which I put the light down the middle this time instead of the dark. See, I'm switching it up. And this one I don't really use the gradients on like solid colors, although I do on Deadpool. You'll see that next week. But I do the edge lighting for the sword, and that adds a lot of I think it adds a little extra dimension to the drawing and makes it pop forward like it's in an actual environment. And I use some filters at the end, which we'll talk about when we get there. But even the coloring itself, the basic coloring goes pretty quick. It takes me a little time to figure out the background on this one. I cut out like probably 15 minutes of screwing around with different background ideas, because I didn't really feel this one needed a drawn background, but I wanted it to have some motion to it. So I went through my old, what I call my background folder, my BG folder, and I found this one. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cool one, that'll work. So you'll see me put that together. And I also make edits at the end, like all these lines I put on the hand, I erase them all. They're not necessary. And I go with highlights and shadows for Tanjiro. That actually helps a lot in bringing this one. It's not always necessary, but when it is, it makes a huge difference. And in this one, it definitely makes a huge difference. Because if I didn't put those white highlights on him, he definitely would not have popped as much, even with the filters and whatnot that I use at the end. Oh, yeah, going back to the first season. I'm all over the place here. He also runs into the demon that kills his family, Muzan, who happens to be the head demon. So his family was taken out by the big guy, which makes it even sadder. And that's why Nezuko is so powerful and why she's different. She's almost an evolution of demons. Because towards the end of the season, they're fighting a demon, and she's out in the sunlight, and she goes to save Tanjiro, and he's freaking out because she's going to die because she's in the sun. And the sun takes out demons quick. and he passes out. But when he wakes up, he realizes that she didn't burn. So she's the only demon who could actually survive in the sunlight, which makes Muzan want her even more, because he wants that ability, because that would make him the ultimate evolution of the demons, because he's the most powerful and he could walk in the daylight. He would be unstoppable at that point. And yeah, he smells them, because like I mentioned earlier, Tanjiro has a great sense of smell, and they send him to a city, and it's actually a pretty cool scene because he's overwhelmed by the city. There's so many people and lights and sounds, and he's from a mountain town, so he's not used to that, and he has a little panic attack, and he runs into an alley, and a quiet alley, and he gets himself some udon. But when he does that, he smells Muzan, and he runs out after him. And Muzan, actually, you guys listen to the White Stripes? Muzan looks a lot like Jack White to me. I mean, he has the hair, he wears the hat, he has a suit, it's white. I think Jack Black makes his people wear black suits. But yeah, he reminded me of Jack White from the White Stripes. He has that look to him. Sorry, Jack, if that's not an insult. The guy's pretty cool, and you're actually one of my favorite solo artists. I've been listening to you a lot lately. So, for some reason you watch this video, Jack White, big fan. But Muzan looks a lot like Jack White, the hair, everything. And I guess he's living as a human in the city, as a wife. He has a daughter. I don't know if it's actually his daughter or if he just hooked up with the woman who already had the daughter. No idea, but she's calling him dad, so. And to distract from Tanjiro, because Tanjiro just runs up to him and like, you killed my family. He's like, oh, no, this kid's crazy. He's freaking, like, we got to get out of here. He like scratches somebody's neck really quick to turn him into a demon as a distraction, and that's where he meets the girl and the boy who want to help, because the police show up and they're about to arrest Tanjiro because they think he's crazy and he won't let go of the demon guy because he doesn't want the demon guy to hurt anybody. It's a pretty powerful little moment there. And now I'm remembering the end before the movie that's coming out, and the leader of the demon slayers, he's dying, and all the demon slayers and the Hiroshimas, they're all training to get stronger because they realize they have to be stronger if they're gonna beat Muzan. And you know, they realize that the mark on Tanjiro's head and some other Hiroshimas, they got the mark too, and they realize that that's like a power thing, and they're all powering up. And for whatever reason, Muzan's like, you know what, screw this, I'm going into the heart of the beast and I'm ending this once and for all. I'm taking out the Demon Slayer core. So he just pretty much walks up and he starts laying waste, and they're fighting him, and they got him on the ropes, and they pretty much got him to the point where they're gonna win. And then he does some kind of weird thing, and they fall into a portal. And the portal's his world. It's kind of like one of those dolly things, or I forgot the name of the artist, with the stairs that go in all the weird directions that don't really line up with physics, but you know, you make it work with perspective. So you got ups and downs going together, and rounds and circles, and it's kind of like a maze. And that's kind of like the world he traps the demon slayers in. And his high-ranking lieutenants are also there to help fight him. And yeah, that's pretty much where it ends, and that's probably where the movie's going to pick up. It'll probably pick up on some pretty flashback thing before it jumps into the action, because they usually do. And I think a friend of mine who I'm going to see told me there's going to be 2 movies, so it's not just going to be the one. And here you see him adding the highlights, and I realized that he actually had a sleeve on this arm, so I erased the fleshy colors and added in the sleeve so it matched his other arm. I don't want you guys thinking that I'm an AI bot drawing all these things, because, you know, inconsistencies. I was watching a thing on how to spot AI art, and one, I wouldn't use it because it's kind of boring and there's no fun if you're not drawing it yourself. I mean, anybody could type a prompt in and say, hey, make me Tanjiro holding a flaming sword in the style of whoever. Although I'm pretty sure the AI hasn't trained on the way I draw, so I don't know how that would work out. But part of it was inconsistencies, and having one sleeved arm and one not, I guess would be considered an inconsistency. And it's all about backgrounds too, like on the turtles when I drew the building and the bricks. And it's all pretty much straight lines, but how AI kind of, from a distance, it looks really cool. But when you get up close, you could tell that it doesn't really understand the physics of the thing. Like, lines they warp into each other, and lines that should be straight or swirly and non-distinct, and things that look like they might have been a window aren't really a window. It's just blobs of things that are nonsensical, but if you're not looking for it or you're just glancing at it quickly, you won't notice it. So that's the kind of stuff that gives the AIs away, which I guess, because sometimes I look at the AIs and I'm like, well, why are they calling this an AI? And then they point out the things like, oh, okay. So it just does weird things. And color, enough of the AI though. It's just not my thing. And plus, if an AI was drawn like me, I'd say you have to train it a little better because it needs some work. Well, that's the whole point of this channel, is that I need some work, and I'm using this as an excuse to draw all the time so I get better at my craft and hopefully motivate a few of you to do the same thing. Like this sword. I wasn't sure how I was going to color the sword. You know, I had the shape of the flame, and in a black and white it'd be fine, and if I was paying a colorist it would have been fine, but I had to do it myself. So basically what I came up with was a 3-tier thing. I got 2 shades of yellow, 2 shades of orange, and I kind of blend them together kind of haphazardly. And then I blur them a little bit on a new layer, and the blurring kind of brings it more into that flame look. Just standard Gaussian blur. Gaussian blur tool is your friend, people. You could use it for many, many different things. In fact, in Photoshop, I use it to make certain things with Ben-Day dots all the time. I'm going to have to do a screen recording of Photoshop on the computer to show you that, because I don't have it on my iPad, but I think it's a cool skill to have, and one of these days I'm really going to sit down and do all these tutorials I tell you guys about. But then after I get the flames and I do the blurring, I realize that the black line is too stark and needs to go. But I saw a tutorial that showed me how you could just color over the layer underneath. So what I do is I select the black of the, I'm doing it now, you can see. I select the black of the sword and I put it on its own layer, and then I draw over it in a dark orange, and then I start to do the blur, and you just got to kind of get the level right on it, or it just doesn't work. Just too much, it just, bleh, it looks like you just threw up orange all over the place. So you still want to see some of the line work. And also, to give dimension to this drawing, I also added an orange rim light to parts of Tanjiro to show that the sword is glowing on him. Just the parts that you would see it, not the parts that the rest of his body cover up. And I also add kind of the rim light to the dark orange that I put over the sword, and that kind of blends in that really dark red line that I put in, which looks okay the way it is, but I think it needed just a little bit more to the rest of the sword. And I think I blurred it up a little more too, so the sword is more engulfed. Oh, here we go. Big jump to the background. Sorry, like I said, I cut out a big piece of the background because I wasn't loving it, and I was using a weird texture, and it just added time to the video that didn't need to be added to the video. So I just cut to the background that actually worked. So I apologize for that huge, oh, blew out of nowhere. But it was just, the rest of it just really wasn't necessary, and it didn't help the video or the drawing at all. It just took time, unnecessary time. But it also made me think that I want to make some of my own background textures. Like this one here, I just kind of had it in an old folder and cut it together and made it do what I wanted it to do, and that was that. But I didn't make it, and here I am. I added some more dots over to give the background some texture, and this is where I start doing the different things that I don't normally do. I watched a tutorial, and what they do is they make a copy of the whole thing, color and all, and they lay it over it, and they throw a Gaussian blur on it, and then they bring it in so it's not in perfect focus all the time. It just kind of gives the drawing a bit of kind of like photo inconsistencies, you know, like an old photo, how, you know, they're not, if you're using an old pocket camera, they're not always tight. They got a little bit of a blur to them. And then after that, here I am. I told you I erased all those lines off the hand. Actually, I'm not even doing the blur thing yet, but basically what it does is it takes the focus away, so it blurs it out a little. It makes it look more natural, and it's not as stark, and it blends the colors together just a little bit. Even though you got the solid colors underneath it, then you got the blurred ones over the top, and you bring the opacity back a bit to about, you know, not much, like down to like 10-15%. And then after you do that, I was just looking through the filter menu, and I noticed that there was a couple different vintage photo ones. So I made another full color layer, and I put one of the photo layers on one and another one on the other. And what it did was it shifted the colors a little bit, the CMYK, and it made like the edges look a little bit out of focus. And I loved it, and it brought everything together. And it's something that I think I might do to a degree on most of the things I draw now. Because you could also do a filter layer where you take like this picture is mostly got a blue background, so you lay a blue over it, and it gives everything a blue hue, and that's a pretty cool thing to do. But I think the photo filter actually does a good job of bringing all that in and doing what basically the filter layer would do, just in a almost more natural way, because it doesn't tint the whole picture blue. It just blends everything together in a way. And here we are throwing those together now. I don't know why, but every time my hand hits the top of the screen, it moves everything. It's driving me crazy. Gotta figure out how to shut that off. And here we go. See, here we are with the blur, which I was just talking about. And then that yellow on the side, the orange, that comes from the photo filter. And on each of them, you just bring the opacity down on each layer so it's not as harsh, and it kind of brings it to where you want it to be. And, you know, after playing around, you get to a point where you like it, and you call it done. See how that kind of makes the flame look like it's popping off the background? I love it. So we're going to do that a lot more. But with that, we're also done with Tanjiro. And so if you can, hit the like and subscribe. And you come back next week, and we will be drawing Deadpool. So I hope you join me for that. And maybe we'll talk about these filters a little more. And maybe I'll do a separate tutorial on how to make them work. So enjoy the week and get to drawing.